people, welcome to Blue Dragon Art, where I, the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon, talk about art-related topics, including indie projects, my own process, anything that I'm interested in. And this week, I'm going to be talking about getting re-motivated after a long hiatus. And what I mean by that is, for those of you who don't know, I have some new subscribers. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope this one is maybe helpful for you, and if not, don't worry. There are other ways to get yourself remotivated. This is just what I did, and I have other videos that I talk about different topics, so next week will be different. But for those of you who don't know, I have been working on a free, not safe for work webcomic, Dark Horse. Links are down in the description. I've been working on this for decades now, in different incarnations and at different levels of seriousness, but in August, I got married, and although I did my best before the whole ceremony and having to drive out to Illinois and, drive my family back, I actually flew out to Illinois and drove my family out, had the ceremony, had a couple chill days in Lincoln City and around the Newport area in Oregon, and then I drove my family back. Before all this, I did my best to make sure that I had, all my videos in a row, which I did really good with the videos. I tried to get my other projects completed. I've been doing some other things, and of course working on buffers, I should say, for my comic Dark Horse. I didn't have enough time to do all that, which I came to terms with and wasn't too hard on myself. I know that a lot of times, we have these ideas that we're gonna be able to get this, that, and the other done. I always overbook myself on things, in other words. But I was not too angry with myself when I was unable to complete that. However, once I finally gave up on trying to work on things when I knew I was going to have the drive back home and stay with my family for a little bit, I just was like, you know what? I'm not taking anything to work on. I'm not going to try to do any art or anything while I'm there. I'm just going to be here now and, hang out with my family and, do a few things. And maybe I didn't really do that much, but do a few things here and there that they needed. And after that, I flew home, and as could be expected, I came home to not due to anyone else, but an overwhelmingly heavy weight of, oh my God, I am so behind. The sink is full of dishes. Even though I could see that the dishes were being washed, I had left dishes before the trip because I cooked everything I needed for the drive, because we don't have we just got married. We don't have the money to be eating out on a road trip, across America. So I had left a mess for my partner, and he cleaned up what he could. I could see that he'd been doing dishes, but it was unreasonable to expect anyone to pick up after people have been at your house. Normally it would be a group effort, he and I doing different things to clean up together. So he did what he could, but there was just so much work to do. And on top of that, I had my comic to work on. I hadn't, really, I was just so overwhelmed. The weight of all the work that I had to do was so heavy that I was paralyzed, right? And I'm going to be talking about how I've been crawling out of my funk with the help of other people. I'm not doing it by myself, y'all. And getting re-motivated to work on my comic and get back to work on other things, answering emails, yada, yada, yada. Because I also had a lot of messages. Oh my God, so many messages, you guys. I have so many messages, and I'm still behind. But I'm not going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to talk about how I've been handling getting back into the swing of things. Quick disclaimer, this is how I'm working on, motivating myself, because I kind of know myself. I know myself enough to know how to handle myself. But if this isn't going to help you, if this is just going to create more anxiety for you, by all means, don't take this as me instructing you on how to get out of your own funk. Maybe there's something in this video that you will find useful and can apply to your own life, and that's my hope. But I'm not a professional. This is not a how-to. This is just how I have been working on myself, because I know myself, and everybody's personality is different. But we're also, similar enough being fellow human beings that there might be a kernel of usefulness in this video, and that's what I'm hoping for y'all. So the first thing is giving myself space and grace, and I cannot claim credit for this at all. This was my partner forcing me to take a break. Not really forcing, but like when I got home, I was gonna try to cook dinner. I was gonna try to do dishes. I was gonna try to do more laundry. And he like sat me down in front of the TV, gave me the controller, gave me the remote, and was like, you ain't doing shit. You just got back from a long fucking stressful trip. You're gonna relax, and I'm going to, you know, take care of the cooking, you know, do whatever necessary dishes, gonna order out, whatever. In other words, I had to decompress from all of the other work that I had been doing, which it seems like, you know, I wasn't doing any work to me because I was just driving and, you know, hanging out. I swam with my mom and her friend, you know. I watched movies, which I haven't been watching a lot of movies, but I watched movies with mom and my sister. I hung out with my nephew, going for walks, watching him play video games. I didn't feel like I was working. I felt like I was just chilling and not doing anything while I was at my family's, but I was enjoying that time. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. I was enjoying the time, but in some way, I felt a little guilty for not, you know, because like, I don't remember if I said, this is my second time recording this, so I don't know if I said it or not, but I decided that I wasn't going to work on anything at the airport. I wasn't going to work on anything at my mom's. I was just going to focus on being here now and enjoying the company of my family, because I know I'm not going back for Thanksgiving because of how much, you know, everything was, you know, we did it on the cheap, but we spent more money than we should have, and we're trying to recoup from that, if that makes sense. So I'm probably not going to be going out to Illinois for Thanksgiving, and I wanted to make sure that I was focusing on the things that were important to me, which is my comic is important, yeah, right? That is, certainly. But so are the human, living, breathing bodies that I surround myself with, or that I don't get to see very often, that I love. So I focused on that, but then there's that negging in the back of my mind. Editor Blue here, I meant nagging, not negging. Can you imagine me just negging myself? You think you're so great, but you're not. I'm cooler, says self to self. Okay, back to the video. You should be working. So the moment I got back from my flight, I wanted to work, and I needed to realize that I needed the help of my husband, my partner, to not just try to overload myself and jump right back into work. And I really appreciate that, and I think that's a good, I'm lucky. I realize that not everyone has, the safety net that I do. But if you can find someone that, or just friends, it doesn't have to be someone that you're, partnered with, friends, some way of finding like a support network to help you realize when you're being unreasonable towards yourself, which I was. So I took his advice. The first week or so, a little over the week, I did do my videos and stuff. I already had some stuff ready, and I've kept it easy. But, I mostly played video games. I did reading. I've been reading The Fox and the Dragon. I did a review on that earlier in August. I've been really enjoying that book. I love how easy it reads. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I have really been enjoying it, and I really appreciated that gift. I've been going for walks. Just last week, I went for a walk with the women's group I'm a part of, but I've also been going on walks with my partner and the dogs. He, even now, has been he always helps with the meals. I shouldn't say this, but easing into cooking stuff again and working, on lazy meal plans, because normally I have a very regulated, organized meal plan. I order some vegetables from a CSA, I go shopping, I take the bus, yada yada yada. But I've been easing into things and doing things the easy button way, so that it's not as overwhelming. We have frozen leftovers that we've been thawing at times when he hasn't been cooking, or when we haven't ordered out, which we don't like to order out all the time because it can get expensive. But sometimes, you gotta do what you gotta do to get back on your feet, right? yeah, that's the first thing, was instead of like jumping right back into work, easing into it and giving myself time to decompress from all the stuff that had been going on. So the second phase of getting re-motivated was I had to tell myself I'm a list person. I need a list. It's going to be an overwhelming list, but I need a list of the shit that I need to do because I am out of it. I have no idea what the hell I need to do. I'm so behind. So I made my list, and I'll go ahead and scan the list. Some of it's checked off, some of it's not, but I just made a list of things that I needed to do so that I know what is going on and I'm aware of things that need to be completed. It's not a list created to make myself stress out. It's just so that I can keep tabs of what I need to work on. And you'll notice on here I put write the to-do list because it always feels good to scratch something off the list. You know what I mean? So the list was a necessary step. Phase 3 was doing a little bit of things at a time. Instead of looking at all the dishes, and I know it's messy, but I've gotten things cleaned up now. But instead of looking at every dish that's dirty and how the sink is full and how the table's covered with stuff, instead of getting overwhelmed, what I would do is I would do a couple bowls, a couple plates at a time, put them in the strainer, partner puts them away. His main job when as a couple is to put the dishes away. He also helps with like folding clothes. And we have different things that I don't like to do that he doesn't care about doing, so we separate the work that way, if that makes sense. But instead of looking at the dishes and thinking, I gotta do every single fucking dish in that sink right now, I took a breath and I was like, you know what? I'm heating something up on the stove. I'm gonna do maybe 3 or 4 bowls, and when stuff's ready, I'm gonna just stop and walk away from it. Or when I was in the bedroom, that's where I have the clean clothes in like a basket, and I have the dirty clothes in like the thing. You know, I took one thing down, I did 1 load of clothes, I folded a couple clothes, put them away. Or I would, have partner, whenever I'm playing video games, my partner, you know what I mean. If I'm sitting there playing Tetris or something, he brought the basket of clothes out and he worked on folding clothes. So if I passed something by, we had a folding table that was covered with stuff from the wedding, papers, gifts, stuff like that. I would take one thing as I walked by and put it where it goes, or put it closer to where it goes. Baby steps. I know, you guys, that sounds a little bit insane, but for me, if I could look at it as just one little thing while I'm passing by at a time and putting things away as I go instead of keeping the mess going, it was easier for me to not be overwhelmed by all the work that needed to be done. I'm going to take it a step at a time. I'm going to do this, and things are going to be messy for a while, but if I do this and take care of the dishes that I dirty now, and then maybe a couple extra at a time, or, do 1 load and then, take care of drying it or hang up this or whatever, do a little bit at a time, pick up this on my desk, move it there, blah, blah, blah. Doing things a little bit at a time really helped slowly pull the mess away from being as large as it was. And I could see slowly over the days the mess slowly diminishing and getting to be more manageable until the dishes have reached a point where it's okay, I've got a sink load of dishes and that's it. I'm done. Aside from whatever we use today, it's taken care of. So I'm kind of like that. I don't know if that's called incrementalism, but that's what I call it. If I do things a little bit at a time instead of having to do it all at once, for me it's a little less overwhelming, and I'll live with the mess. I don't care. I'll clean this later. I'll mop later. One thing at a time until it's manageable and it's not oppressive to my mind to look at, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. That's how I gotta do it with myself, That's how I went vegan, was I stopped drinking milk, I stopped doing this. I'd already been vegetarian for, years, or pescatarian, then vegetarian. And then I finally, was able to just cut it all. And I'm not the kind of person, there are people who have to cold turkey. My partner was like that. He used to smoke the hookah like every day, all day. And he just had to cold turkey and say, you know, don't talk about it. Don't say shit. Don't say I'm doing good. Just don't act like it never happened. And then when he was no longer addicted to it, you know, he cold turkey just stopped that day. He told me, hey, you can talk about it now. I'm over it. I'm fine, you know. So there are some people who are like that, but I'm not like that. I can't just cut shit out of my life immediately. I gotta do the baby steps, because that's how I am. It maybe is not the best thing, but it's what sticks with me. If I try to cut something completely or do something completely, I get overwhelmed and I just give up. I know how my psychology is, at least to that degree, so that's what works for me. This isn't really a phase, but this is something that was key at every part of getting remotivated. I know I'm not talking about the art stuff yet, you guys. I'm getting there. Because regarding like doing a little thing at a time, I sketched maybe one page at the tavern, or I sketched one panel at the tavern. I did half of a panel at the tavern, or like when we went out to the pizza joint, you know, I'll do like a part of a panel, and I won't get it done, but I do a little bit at a time to kind of get back into the work, right? So this other phase isn't really a phase. This is what really helped me, like from the get-go, was asking for help. Like, Bradman already offered the help, but he's the kind of guy, you know, like he'll offer help and he'll do things, but you know, he just says, don't hint, just tell me, you know, tell me what you need. So I have had to train myself to ask for help when I need it instead of just expecting it. Which I know, you know, that puts a load on you because you might feel guilty asking someone, but especially if the person said, hey, help me, you know, tell me that you need help me help you. You know, you gotta reach a compromise at some point. And that was something that I had to learn to do, was to ask for help. And while his hand was offered to help, I asked him also for specific things that normally would be something that I do. But, you know, I needed assistance with that while I got back, you know, on my feet, getting to things. Now, that's not so much art related, but it's art related in the sense that your outside space, your other work, influences your own level of motivation. If there's shit going on in your life that's not art related, that's going to have an effect on, you know, what you're doing, whether or not you're in the mood, or whether or not you feel you can, or whether or not you're in the whatever, if that makes sense. So asking for help. Also, he helped me with like my portfolio and stuff too. Like, there are things that he can help with that isn't necessarily drawing for me, but it's helping me on like the tech side. So having people, like, maybe it's not your partner. I'm not saying everybody in the world needs to have a partner that they're with, but if you have friends, family, a support network, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're the type of person who doesn't like to ask for help, which I'm kind of not. I don't like to ask for help. I just like to do it all, which is bad. Bad Blue Dragon. You're not supposed to do that. Anyway. Another thing was, as I was mentioning just a moment ago, like doing like panels when I went out places, going out of the house, lazily working on things outside the house, not having to be on work mode all the time, but carrying things around in case I felt like doing something, and when I'm done, I'm done. I had the puzzle, you know, the crossword puzzle from like one of the local papers that I like to do. You know, I'd work however long I wanted to, and then if I was in the middle of sketching someone's face and I just felt like I was done, I detached myself from work and I let myself enjoy the moment where I was at. But getting outside of your workspace, which for me is the house, was good because then I don't feel like I'm anchored down by all the stuff around me. I get away from what's stressing me out a little bit and reconceptualize it in my mind and remember why I like working on stuff. I like to sketch, I like to draw, I like to do this. And I'm not putting any pressure on myself, so I'll just do what I want, and then when I'm done, I'm done. If that makes sense. I don't know if any of this makes sense. It makes sense to me, but I don't know about the rest of the world out there. Okay, so getting back, once things started getting, you know, under control with the house, I was in this kind of listless state where it's like, I don't get bored often, you guys. Y'all. I don't get bored often, but I can only play so many video games. I can only read so long. I can only watch videos on YouTube for so long before I start getting bored. Like, I like to watch videos, I like to read comics, I like to do all this stuff, but at some point I get the itch to work. But every time I would go, like, look at my desk to work on something, aside from when I was taking things out to the tavern, I was like, I don't want to sit down there. There's shit on my chair. I've got, like, an old chair that was broken that we fixed. That's at my writing desk, at my drawing desk, I should say. But I was, like, paralyzed. I don't know why. Like, I had some stuff that I could ink, and I was like, I couldn't, I don't know what my holdup was. It didn't make any sense to me because this does not happen very often. I usually like to work. So I was at this state where I didn't want to do anything that was entertainment. I wanted to work, but I also didn't want to work, even though I wanted to work. I don't know. It's so hard to explain. It doesn't make any sense at all. It was like, I would look at it and then I would just walk away, and then I would just be irritated with myself because I was bored, but I didn't feel like doing it, even though I felt like doing it. It's a contradiction. I know it's a paradox, but that's kind of how I felt. So what I did was, I was like, you know what? I don't have to draw. I don't have to ink. Let's do this instead. Let's look. I need to start thinking about the act that comes after Time Warp, which is what I'm fixing the pages of right now. So I decided that I was going to reread my scripts and see if I could work on maybe some thumbnails instead of working on actual pages that I needed to fix. I had already written down, like, notes on what needs to happen in this chapter, and then I had written out exactly the order in which it needed to happen, like some of the dialogue, and then I was starting to script things out, and reading that stuff and looking at, like, the thumbnails that I'd already started, that's what really helped to get me re-motivated. I was like, oh my god, I really want to work on this next act. I can't get there until I finish this act. So, like, emotionally rereading stuff that I had already written that I need to work on was giving me an even stronger itch. This sounds like Hedwig and the Angry Itch. That's a really bad way of putting things. It motivated me to want to start drawing again. So after I had reread that, I was like, well, instead of working on these scripts, I'm gonna look at these pages that need to be redrawn. I was like, oh my god, that needs to be fixed. That looks awful. And I'm ready to try, like, more dynamic poses and emotions and faces and stuff. So that next phase was wanting to work, but not being able to work. And so I moved into looking at what I had planned, which made me want to work, but I couldn't get to there until I finished this. And looking at the old stuff that looks, that needs to be fixed, that was what really was like, okay, I'm doing this. I got my light box up. I've got my papers cut already, which I already cut everything for myself down because I use a pretty big Bristol now. So I already had, like, pages cut for myself to make this process easier. So thank you. Do things for yourself ahead of time to make things easier for you, because you'll thank yourself later if you have the chance, if you're able to. But yeah, looking at those pages, I've been working, and, like, even today as I record this, I finished sketching some pages, I did some inking, and I kind of want to get back to drawing again. I'm just doing the video recording because I have to get it done, right? So, yeah, that's kind of how I got out of my funk. To recap for anyone who wants to try it, but again, I'm not, like, if this is gonna give you anxiety or something, don't stress yourself out, y'all. This is just how I got myself out of it. I first gave myself space and grace. I hate that rhymes, but it's a really good phrase for, like, giving myself the time to rejuvenate and want to work again. Creating a list, that is a must for me. It's not for everyone, but it is for me. Doing little bits and pieces at a time instead of focusing on the large pile of work that needs to be done. do little things at a time. Pick this up here, sketch that there, organize this here. Just taking little pieces from the big pile to make it a smaller pile. Ask for help. Go outside of your workspace. Go experience life elsewhere so that you can, breathe and not be oppressed by the workload that's constantly around you in your normal workspace. Rereading scripts or whatever it is that you're working on, rereading your plans for that, and working on what I feel like when I feel like, just to kind of get back into the swing of things. I didn't really say that, but that was kind of like the overarching thread that's tying all of this together, was doing what I want to do when I feel like it, so that I'm getting something done in order to take away from the work, but without stressing myself and forcing myself to work on something when I don't want to. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I really hope that if you're currently in a funk and it's more of like a mental funk than it is like a time constraint thing, I hope there's something in here that will help remotivate you. If anything, if you try these things and they don't work, you can at least say you tried them and then mark them off the list and realize this isn't anything that's going to be helpful for you, and you can try to tackle your motivation problem from a different angle. In fact, anyone watching this video to the end, if you have suggestions on how to get remotivated after, losing a bit of motivation for whatever reason, I would like to hear things that you do to get yourself back on track, because, again, I'm limited in my experience. I can only think in terms of what works for me, and I had to stumble upon it and realize these things myself, even though they're things that I feel like I should have known. So if you have suggestions that might help or be something interesting that could help somebody else, even if I'm unable to apply them, I want to hear about it. So go ahead and comment, and I'll take a look at it, and hopefully, we can work on keeping motivated and working on the stuff we love together, even if we're doing it in different ways. So I think I've belabored this topic enough. It's been a while since I've had a long video, so I don't feel so bad doing like a longer chit chat video. But I had a good time making this. I hope that it was helpful, and I'll be back next week with another video on a different topic. Still art related though. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks again to my new subscribers. Y'all rock. Thanks to my old subscribers. Y'all rock too. Yeah, I'm out of here. Peace and love. Very well. And keep on trucking.